Hello and welcome back to Animated Literacy. This is part 16 of the overview and research for the program. In this section we're going to be talking about three-word phrases, sentences, grammatical glue, and high-frequency words. High-frequency words have formed the basis of many reading programs, and many teachers feel under extreme pressure to teach high-frequency words. So we're going to take a look at how high-frequency words have frequently been taught and at how animated literacy uses them and the research behind when children start to produce high-frequency words. This is a statement from How Babies Talk, and they tell us that from 2 to 3 there is a dramatic change in children's ability to use grammar. Just as the period between 19 and 20 months is called the vocabulary spurt, this period could be called the grammatical spurt. So as I talked about earlier, when children are learning to speak, they go through that sequence of stages that we've talked quite a bit about. And at the beginning of the stage, they progress very slowly within that stage. As they're reaching what's termed critical mass near the end of the stage, all of a sudden there's an explosion, or some people refer to this as an aha moment. You've worked on something really hard and you've struggled with it for a long time, and then all of a sudden it just seems to come clear to you. And so that's kind of what those explosions look like. They go on to tell us that researchers examined children's speech to see when they started using grammatical glue. So researchers often think of high-frequency words as grammatical glue. Here you have all these content words, nouns and adjectives and verbs. And when you're speaking in single words and two-word phrases, you don't really need anything to glue those words together. But as you start expanding into three-word phrases and beyond and into sentences, then you need something to hold the other words together. And that's a lot of the function of what those high-frequency words are serving. So you can think of it this way. If I walked around and I gave everybody some sticks and some construction paper and things to assemble with, but I didn't give them any glue, you might ask for some glue. But if I gave you glue and nothing else, you might say to me, what's this glue for? What am I going to do with it? So once you have all of the construction paper and sticks, then you have a need for the glue, and language is very much like that. If you look at the first words that children naturally produce, you won't find the word the. I don't know of a situation where a parent has run to the baby book and filled in, child spoke first word today, said the. But we know from many, many studies that they've actually heard the word the more than they've heard any other word. So these are examples of the kinds of words that babies speak first. When I was first looking at high-frequency words, I wasn't giving them very much attention in the early stages. And then there was a piece of research that I found that changed my view of high-frequency words. And hopefully, as you're noticing that we're going along, I'm very driven by research. And I find that the more I understand the research and the more research I have to apply, the smarter my kids get and the farther they progress. So this was a study that changed my thinking about high-frequency words. In the early stages, babies are not producing most high-frequency words. So they're not saying words like the, in, and on, and of. But it turns out from this study that they actually are recognizing and producing those words, or recognizing and processing those words. They're just not producing them. So in this study, what they did is they put some toys in front of children who weren't even speaking in words yet. So these were children at the babble stage of development. So they put a dog, a chair, a book, and a truck in front of the child. Then they asked the child different sentences. The first thing they asked the child was, find the dog for me. So if they say, find the dog, the child's to pick up the dog and show it or point to it or hand it to the researcher. And they found that in this particular group of children, they were accurate 86% of the time picking up the dog. Then they changed the sentence. They just simply took out the word the. So if they said, find dog for me, the performance dropped from 86% down to 75%. So then they thought, well, maybe it's not really the word the, maybe it's just a placeholder, because babies learn patterns, and so it may simply be the sentence pattern. So they substituted a nonsense word. They said, find gub dog for me. And now the performance dropped to 56% accuracy. So then they thought, well, maybe it's because gub's not a real word, and so that's confusing them. So let's put in a different high frequency word and see what happens. So they chose the word was. So now they said, find was dog for me, and performance dropped to 39%. So some people would say that what happens with the word the in the early stages is babies aren't producing it, but it's doing neural priming. It's letting them know, here comes a noun, here comes something to pay attention to. And because the word the is there, they know to pay attention. Without the word the, they are not as aware that they need to pay attention to a noun coming. So here's a list again of high frequency words. And it was discovered that with the word the, you could read 7.3% of every book in print. And with of, you could read 10% of any book in print with just the two words the and of. Then if you added and, a, to, in, and is, you could read with 7 words about 20% of any book in print. And so the rationale was, let's teach kids to memorize them first. And so they gave them things like I've shown you before, where here was an entire book that just had one word in it, the. And children were to read the and then say the name of the picture. So they'd say, the boots, the umbrella. Animated literacy, instead of putting the there, puts it in an emotional context. So the children draw a picture of a pup in the first week of school, and they label their word with the letters P-U-P, and then we talk about that pictures can have titles. Let's call it the pup. And we write the in all capital letters, which is very easy to do because the letters are all just straight lines. Then, after they've learned to draw the pup, we put it into a sentence that they can cut out and paste. Now, if they're not good at cutting out this entire line, you can just use a paper cutter and take that off and hand them a strip, and they can go 3 snips, and then they can reassemble that sentence into the pup is up. Now, what I find is children are really good at learning the words pup and up, but at first they don't remember the words the or is to be able to read those to you. Then they take and they fold their paper on the back. So here's a little bit longer sentence. And there are sentences to go along with all of the drawing exercises in the Story, Song, and Action book. And then there are more sentences in the beginning workbook. And what I did was feed the high frequency words into those sentences in as close to sequential order based on their frequency as I could. But sometimes there were some things where I had to move it a little later because of the way the word functions. So here the child has completed their puzzle. I see a rat. It is in that hat. And they folded their paper so that now they can see their puzzle on the back of the page, and then they copy that sentence, I see a rat. So they're getting a lot of exposure to high frequency words. So I want them to experience high frequency words, but not get concerned about their ability to read them until we start getting into 3-word phrases. And so here is another puzzle. Of is kind of a difficult word to fit into a really short sentence, so that's why I held it off until just a little bit later. And here the sentence reads, the pot of soup is hot. So if you're at the early stage, you can just leave that sentence the way it is. If the children are at a little higher stage, you could put a star under pot, soup, and hot, and they could change those 3 words. So maybe they change it to the glass of milk is cold, and then draw a picture of their sentence to go along with that. Then another way we treat high frequency words in animated literacy is as we're drawing our pictures and we're drawing the parts of the pictures, then they copy a high frequency sentence. So in this one, the sentence reads, I see a tiger. And that's a sentence very much like what many children would find in their little books. So I replace the little books with the context of drawing. And because drawing has such emotion and the kids are so proud of their drawings, they're going to remember it better because when you have an emotional context, it's much easier for the brain to recall the information. Then as we're starting to do our pattern songs, here's a pattern for a hunting we will go, and it reads, oh, a hunting we will go, a hunting we will go, we'll catch a fox, put him in a box, and then we'll let him go. So after the children have tracked those words with a finger, and they've written in the words fox and box. Now we can do a hide and seek and start hunting for high frequency words. So I say to the kids, put your finger up in the air, find the word him. And they go looking and they go, I found it. Oh, I see it in 2 places. Find it in 2 spots. So now they take 2 fingers and put one next to each word. Then I ask them to first show me the sounds in the word. And they have to go hippie hippo humming, Ichabod itching, Mimi moving a magic mop. So they go, him. Then I ask them to tell me the letters in the word, H-I-M. Okay, put your finger up. Let's find another word. Find let. So they go hunting for let, and they find let, and I go, show me the sounds in let. Let. Tell me the letters in let, L-E-T. Let's find another one. Find the word will. Oh, I see it. And so now they put the word on their finger on the word will. Show me the sounds. Ill. Tell me the letters, W-I-L-L. So we do a lot of those kinds of activities, especially with the high frequency words. You can also do those same activities with content words, but this is a really good way of emphasizing your high frequency words. Then we go into a puzzle of the song. So now here's all the words in the wrong order, and you have to cut out those words, paste them back into the correct order, and as you're doing so, once again, you're going to be seeing high frequency words over and over and over again. You just can't avoid them once you get into sentences, because sentences need grammatical glue. Then on the back of their page, they write their own version of that song by changing all the words that have stars in them. So on this day we did, here we go round the mulberry bush so early Sunday morning. And the child changed that to, here we go round the puppy dog, puppy dog, puppy dog. Here we go round the puppy dog so early Monday morning. And you can see most of the high frequency words are being spelled and written in standard spelling. Then we go to patterns, where we start to substitute for high frequency words. So this is a pattern that sounds like this. If you miss me and you're looking around and you can't find me anywhere, just move into my new house. I'll be playing in there. So here, the word move was a word that the child chose to replace the original word in the song. Then she has a preposition, into, and the preposition in, and she's chosen the verb playing. So these were not the original words to the song, but these are words that they've rewritten. The song, This Old Man, is a great song for playing with high frequency words. And of course the original goes, this old man, he played knick-knack on my thumb with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone. This old man came rolling home. Well, you can see the first song that we rewrote was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I Caught a Fish Alive, and the only word they had to change to rewrite that song was the single word fish. Well, now there's a lot of words they have to put in there, and there's nouns, there's pronouns, there's a preposition. So we have both high frequency and content words. So this child has rewritten that song to read, this big dog, she played 3, she played knick-knack in the log with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog some bones. This big dog came bounding home. So gradually the children will pick up those words. And what I found in my classroom was I introduced both content words, pup and up, and high frequency words, the and is, to form the pup is up. Then after we had worked with those words, if I showed the children those words on a flashcard, there was a good chance they could read the words up and pup. And that continued with all of our drawings, where we kept putting in high frequency words, and they were remembering the words that we drew and labeled, but they were not remembering the high frequency words. Then when they reached a point where they were really fast at reading about 50 to 100 high frequency words and matching them with drawings, and we also matched them with objects, all of a sudden the high frequency words just sort of appeared. And I find that to be a very natural way for high frequency words to come in, is when they're ready for them and when they need them, they come in. If they don't, we have all these strategies that I just demonstrated that we can reinforce those high frequency words. But I'm not going to be concerned with them in the beginning because they don't have emotion, they don't have meaning. There's also been research that with eye movement studies that show that good readers almost never skip a content word. So they fully process all the nouns, the adjectives, the verbs, and all the words that carry meaning. But oftentimes, good readers will gloss over high frequency words. I read one study where a professor wanted to know if his students could find an error using high frequency words. So he put out a document and he gave a bounty for all of the mistakes that could be found. And the first time around, the students found quite a few errors. Then he corrected all those errors, gave it out again, and offered a higher bounty for each error. And the students found some more errors. Then he repeated that. The error that was never found was two words "the" written in a row, because the brain tends to gloss over those words. So in many reading programs, what we're doing is we're paying the greatest attention to what good readers pay the least attention to. And as we talked about earlier, we want children imitating the behavior of our good readers, which means put most of the emphasis on your high meaning words, but do put some emphasis on high frequency words because they're important for fluency. So thank you for listening again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next segment.